Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Blackbriar, A Dark Euphony, out September 29th on Nuclear Blast. The album has 11 tracks, 49 minutes in length, and this is the band's second full-length studio album. They are a Dutch symphonic gothic metal band. From a design standpoint, this album gives you this experience that allows the record to feel extremely balanced and cohesive from the first to the last song. Almost like there are no changes. The experience that you get with the first track is a very similar experience that you're going to get with the following 10 songs. Now, the more you listen to the record, the more you realize that is not true. The album actually has a lot of nuances, there's a lot of changes, there's a lot of uniquenesses within tracks, but that's not how you feel towards it. And because of you feeling towards it in a different way from what the record actually provides, the album needed songs that would break the mold and allow the listener to reset as you're progressing down the line. Having songs that jolt you, that change the dynamics, that change the eyesight of the listener. The record definitely has one song like that, the Evergreen and Whipping Tree. That one track is not enough. The album needed more. It needed at least 3 songs in order for the record to have clear differences and clear ebbs and flows. This would definitely break away from the sense of linearity that the album offers, and it would make the experience a lot more engaging and a lot more dynamic. Now, once you move into the sound, that's where that experience comes from. It's the sound of this album. This is a record that pushes the vocals into the forefront. That's not a bad thing. The vocals are the driving force behind this record. They are the driver, they are the motor, they are the car, they are the road in which the car travels on. This is fine, but the sound behind it becomes the soundscape to that vocal performance. Now, the sound has quite a bit of bite, and I honestly actually enjoyed how well balanced the metal side of the record is with the more symphonic side of the album. This is not an overly symphonic record with a lot of orchestrations. It's an album that definitely puts that in the forefront, but also allows the guitars and drums to play a role in creating a little bit more thickness, creating a little bit more volume, and like I said, a little bit more heaviness without necessarily allowing that heaviness to take control of the album. Nothing really takes control of the record outside of the vocals. It's an album that balances these two worlds of the metal side with the symphonic side in a very cool way that allows the experience to be one almost of a movie score. That's how the sound comes across, and having a sound like that definitely helps propel those vocals into the forefront. But if you're going to have one common denominator that really stands tall above everything else, which like I said in this case is the vocals, you need the sound behind it to do a few different things, or you need those key songs in the overall design of the record to change that dynamic. Maybe a song where the soundscape takes control and becomes the driving force. Having a song that completely strips out everything, and the Evergreen and Whipping Tree does that, but I think you could go even further in that stripping down and allowing the vocals to sit still or stand alone, if you will, and how the song progresses. And then having a song that changes the dynamics, that maybe removes the more symphonic elements of the track or uses them just in the chorus, allowing the heavier side of the band to come through, changing how the sound interacts with the vocals, making the song feel completely different from everything that surrounds it. These are just some ideas in order to allow the sound on this record to have a little bit more life and to have a little bit more impact and not just be the backdrop to an incredible vocal performance. Because the guitars sound great, the drums sound great, and they have a lot of heaviness, they have a lot of meat on the bone. It's just that they become part of this backdrop and they never really necessarily push themselves into the forefront on any given time, on any given track, in order to take a little bit of the lead and change the dynamics of the tracks, and therefore changing the dynamics of the sonic performance of this album. Vocally, the record is super strong because that's where all the chips are going into the middle. The vocal performance definitely stands out. It has great impact, great delivery, great tonality, great range. Even though the range at times stays controlled, you see certain moments where that range is a little bit more exercised, either on the bottom side or on the top side. But it's an incredible album vocally from beginning to end. And sometimes it's so great that overshines everything else around it and really becomes the only focus of the record. It's not a bad album, and it's not an album that's poorly executed. The sound is great. The combination of orchestration, symphonic elements with the heavier side of the band is really well achieved from the beginning to the end. The vocal performance also really well put together, super consistent from beginning to end. It's just an album that starts to feel very repetitive, even though underneath the surface is not repetitive at all. But it doesn't matter. The experience that you get, the perception that you get becomes the reality. And at the end of the album, you just feel like things didn't move at all. They just stood still, sung in and sung out. This record deserved a little bit more movement within it. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Unwelcome Guest. This is the opening track on the record, and I really like this track as an opening song. It has a great movement. It's a song that has a lot of energy. It feels super fluid. It's the perfect opener for the album because it has that sense of opening the doors, but not just opening the doors and showing you a picture, opening the doors and allowing you to roll into the experience of the track and therefore the experience of the record. The vocals take control as they do throughout the entire album, so you see that right from the beginning. You'll also see the vocal layers that they used quite a bit throughout this record, which I wasn't necessarily against. I actually enjoy those layers because this is an album that sound-wise, it has a lot of thickness, it has a lot of substance, it has a lot of depth. So the vocals, considering where they almost consistently are in that register, having the layers behind it definitely help add to that same substance, add to that same texture. So it's a more balanced performance between what the sound is giving you and how the vocals are delivered. And this song is a perfect example of that combination. Now, it's a great track. I really like how the metal side of the band blends with the orchestrations, still giving room for the vocals to take the lead. Next, we have Bloody Footprints in the Snow. Now, this is an interesting track because it's predominantly a piano-driven song. Now, the guitars come in and they have bite, they have heaviness, so do the drums. But that piano opening really becomes the thread that connects the entire song from beginning to end. And I almost wanted a little bit more of it. I wanted that experience to be a little bit more magnified or to have more clear appearances as the song progresses. Now, the chorus is magnificent, super hooky, super catchy, both musically and vocally. It brings in a lot of light to a song that at times feels quite dark. It has more of a heavier, dark verses and then a brighter, a more lively chorus that becomes that hook of this song. Last but definitely not least, We Make Mist. Super strong vocally, one of the strongest songs vocally on this record. It has the sound to propel those vocals, and then it has the vocal range at full display, really making the track feel a lot more dynamic, creating movement with the vocals and allowing the sound to change and go where those vocals are taking you. But it's definitely a song that really showcases the vocal performance of a singer on a record, on a track, allowing you to dictate where the track is going, but not necessarily keeping the track in one position or at one speed. No, going and moving the sound, really being the orchestrator of the entire track, not just vocally, but also obviously sonically as well. Great song from that standpoint. One of the most dynamic songs from a vocal performance standpoint, and that allows the track to really stand out in the crowd. This is at Blackbriar with a Dark Euphony, out September 29th on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.